Welcome, everyone. You've just stepped into a sacred space where purpose meets preparation, where we come together to strengthen not just skills, but spirit, character, and legacy. Here inside the Huddle in Mom's locker room of legacy, we go beyond the scoreboard. We speak life into vision. We nurture identity, fuel growth, and equip families with tools to thrive, on and off the field. This isn't just a workshop, it's a movement, a God-led playbook for legacy building, financial wisdom, emotional strength, and spiritual alignment. Disclaimer: the content provided in this video is for educational and inspirational purposes only and should not be construed as legal, financial, medical, or psychological advice. By watching this video, you voluntarily release moms, mothers of motivated sons, It Had to Happen, ETM, Dr. Erica Wilson, all facilitators, affiliates, and contributors from any and all liability. All content, including audio, video, graphics, presentations, workshop materials, and commentary, is the exclusive property of M.O.M.S and It Had to Happen, TM. Unauthorized reproduction, recording, distribution, or use of any portion of this content is strictly prohibited without express written consent. This video may contain copyrighted material not specifically authorized by the copyright owner. Such content is used under the provisions of the Fair Use Act for purposes such as education, commentary, and nonprofit awareness. We do not claim ownership of third-party content used under fair use. If you are the copyright owner and have concerns, please contact us directly for resolution. Thank you for supporting moms, mothers of motivated sons, where faith meets the field and legacy lives beyond the game. So lace up, lean in, and get ready to join the huddle where every voice matters, every journey is honored, and victory starts within. Let's go. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Mothers of Motivated Sons.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight is Thursday night, y'all. Listen, this time is just rolling. But welcome inside the huddle. Listen, I was just talking to our champions in the green room, and I don't know. All I'm going to say is get your tissues ready. Tonight's workshop is going to be phenomenal, full of information. So you may even want to get your pens and your paper ready. You know, you just never know what jewels are going to be brought out of the playbook on tonight. Our topic is how childhood trauma affects you as an adult, motherhood, and athlete edition. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in the champions. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia, we got heavyweight champion Jasmine White. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
And then we have heavyweight champion weighing in all the way from Miami, Florida, Ebony, Miss First of All Stirrup. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing this evening?
Oh my God, what a night it's going to be, okay? And I'm just so excited to hear all about this topic on tonight. So kind and most gracious Father, oh God, we come to you, oh God, as humbly as we know how, Father, giving you the glory, honor, and the praise, God. Father God, I pray, God, that as these young ladies decrease, you increase, oh God. Father God, as they bring your word on tonight, Father, about childhood trauma, Father God, I pray, God, that you use them mightily, Father. Father God, I pray, God, that the Holy Spirit use them on tonight to speak to someone's life, oh God. If not, just to free someone on tonight, Father. But God, we ask, God, that you have thy own way, Father, because this is yours, God. We're just your servants, Father. We're your willing vessels, oh God. And we submit to you now, God, and ask, God, that you have your way on tonight, Father. God, we give you the glory, God. We give you the honor, God. And we give you the praise, God. We're in the numbers yet again, God, and we thank you. Amen, and amen.
Amen.
Yes, God.
Yes. What a beautiful prayer. Thank you, Dr. Erica, for definitely setting the tone for tonight. This is definitely going to be very informative, inspiring, motivating, and just going to kind of open up your eyes to things that we may not have noticed. So thank you once again, Ebony, for joining me tonight and just bringing the mental health profession into the conversation, because it's going to be helpful for a lot of people that will be watching. So tonight, we are definitely getting ready to dive in. And I'm so excited. So, what I want to, I'm always a thought provoking type of person. So, we're going to do some fun facts real quick. All right. So, my fun facts are sponsored by Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So, did you know 2 out of 3 children report experiencing at least one traumatic event by age 16?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
got another one for you. 1 in 7 children experience abuse or neglect
Mm.
annually in the
Mm.
US.
Wow.
That's it. I'm gonna blow your mind one more time. Three's the charm. Each day, 14 youths die from homicide and more than 1,300 treated for violence related injuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
The numbers are not shocking.
Mm.
No. No. Yeah.
And so before we dive in, Abby, I want you to definitely just kind of give us a little bit about, like, with those numbers. Like, I know you said it's not shocking, so give us a little insight of why. You know, tell the audience.
Well, children experience so much in their early life that they're susceptible to, and it's not their fault, of course. Their parents may have endured certain traumas of their own or experienced different things in their lives that have caused them to not necessarily know how to react or respond in situations. I try not to demonize the people who cause the hurt, because a lot of the times they're just not knowledgeable on the correct ways to parent. Some are bad, and I can't take that away. Like, some people are just not good people. But for the most part, like, if you dive deeper into those numbers and you go deeper into a case about those particular things, if they may mention that these parents don't have the resource, they don't have the access, they are working multiple jobs and they have no idea how to handle the stress and the overwhelmness of things, and so they tend to react in ways that are harmful. And so there's a lack of patience and all of these things, and again, it goes back to the trauma, things that are generationally kind of taught to us, and not having I can't think of the word I want to use, but basically they don't know when to stop. Like, they don't know the limit, right? So when we think about our generation of parenting, where we don't spare the rod, right? We beat our kids, basically. We whoop them with belts, right? It's others may say, well, hey, there's nothing wrong with beating your child. But it is a problem if I don't know when to stop. It is a problem if I can't control myself, my anger. And so the numbers are very high because of that. And then, of course, we have people who struggle mentally, just how they have mental health disorders, and they're abusive, they're toxic. They struggle with pedophilia. Like, there's just all these different things that our children are exposed to, and they're not protected from people, but it's sad to say they're not protected from their parents. And so this is why we see the numbers the way that we see them. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because even in 2025, we still struggle with knowing how to control ourselves, finding a different way to address the situation. And so, we can blame it on so many different things, but at the end of the day, there's just a space of accountability. And if you're gonna do good or bad, you gotta take accountability for the good you do, and you have to take accountability for the bad that you do. So that's basically why I say that about the numbers, and that's it's just my take on why we see the numbers so high and you know, in regards to especially our children and what they experience.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because as you were talking, the comments were popping in, and Ashley says she can imagine that the numbers are much higher, as you did mention as well. And I saw Dr. Erica say sometimes the abuser was abused.
Yes.
And that's so true. As we dive deeper into it, I want to first say this is a safe space tonight.
Yes.
This is a safe space. Because all of the is so many traumatic experiences that has happened, and that leads us into our topic of what is childhood trauma. Because you may be wondering, you may have experienced some things in your life and may not be clear of what it is. So we're going to talk about it tonight. So
Really
traumatic.
quick, move over because we need to see that beautiful face.
Me?
You kind of cutting off when you're rocking. Your face is cut
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, we want to see
Okay.
that
I'm
beautiful
sorry.
face.
When I'm talking, I'm going in. So
It's okay. I
okay.
I
understand.
love perfection, girl. She'd be like, wait a minute, hold up.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So traumatic events, or causing or feelings of intense stress, heightened sense of awareness, extreme vulnerability and pain. That is just a simple definition of trauma. And so with that, that could look like abuse, whether it's psychological, physical, or even sexual. And I know that's a tough one. We're not going to dive too deep in that, but you would be surprised how many people have dealt with that last category.
Yep.
You would be so surprised, and a lot of them deal with it silently.
Yeah.
But that's for another show, so stay tuned. Domestic abuse, community violence, neglect, huge. Think about some of the kids that are elementary school, middle school, high school. Some of them are dealing with neglect. Their parents are not there. They're not available. They have so much going on in their lives. To be honest, they're being raised by their own siblings or raised by another family member. Somebody, it's not the parents, because it's so much mental and emotional traumas that the parents are facing. They can't handle it. And it may be environmental stresses. It may be money issues. It may be a lot of different things that will cause them not to be readily available for their kids. And then serious accidents or life-threatening illnesses and grief. That's a huge one. And we're definitely going to do another show on grief, because a lot of people have experienced grief. And when I tell you grief is something that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
You'll never forget. And I applaud the people that have experienced grief and still just getting the strength from God to continue to move forward in their days. So that is huge. And so when we are talking about trauma, it's not just what happened, but how it made you feel and what you still carry is huge. And so, Ebony, we're going to dive into the conversation as we're talking about the common signs.
Of course.
And I'm going to pull out a few, and I want you to just kind of chime in. But people pleasing, fear of failure, overworking, emotional outbursts, avoidance, or perfectionism. And so I'm going to let you chime in, and then I'm going to come right behind you.
Of course. So those are definitely signs that of people who, I'm not going to say it's not symptoms, it's signs of their personality, right? So a person who may have experienced trauma, you may find that they have a personality that is people pleasing. That they're trying to show up in ways that basically would make them feel like they are meeting the needs of other people. Okay. And of course you see that typically in abused individuals. So the trauma of people who have experienced physical abuse or emotional abuse, they definitely see themselves pleasing, trying to please, trying to make sure that the people who they are dealing with are happy, and that they've made them happy. Okay, so those are definitely some signs, but those are signs of personality. When we talk about symptoms, though, like how do I know? How do I know that I have dealt with a trauma? Because trauma is personal. So what impacts one person deeply, it may not affect another person the same way, right? So I'll give an example. Like she was talking about the different types of traumas, and she didn't give them a name. I'm going to give them a name. So she mentioned like acute trauma, right? Acute trauma is a trauma that you experience in a single event. So like a car accident, or maybe it was like physical assault, like maybe you got in a fight, somebody beat you up, or rape. Like it's just a single event, not something that's always happening to you. Okay, so let's say that I might have experienced an accident. I may not I might not be afraid to be in a car again after that, but someone else might not be able to manage being in a car, right? And they might experience things like intrusive thoughts, like it's just kind of always coming into their head. It's interrupting their normal thought process. Maybe they're emotionally numb, right? Anxiety, depression, like these are all little symptoms that this is how I know I have experienced trauma, and trauma is taking over my mental space. I'm not sleeping, right? I have difficulty sleeping. It's interrupting my sleep. I can't concentrate. It's interrupting my concentration. And another thing that's major is the physical symptoms, because when we think about trauma, we only think about the emotional and the mental, but it does affect your physical self. And I'm not talking about because somebody hit you and so now you're always hurting. No, what we experience emotionally can affect our physical self. Okay, and we don't realize that. And so this is on another level when we talk about treatment, right? This is why people talk about doing things like mindfulness, because when you practice mindfulness in the space of meditation, in the space where you've cleared your mind and kind of only focused on what's occurring in the moment, I might feel my pain, right? I might notice, oh man, like my shoulder's hurting, right? And so if you're practicing mindfulness properly, it's okay to shift your thought to your arm and try to understand where's the pain coming from. And so, it may lead to, my uncle used to always grab me right here when, right? It kind of leads you to the thoughts of whatever you've experienced. And then you can work that out of your body through mindfulness, right? So this is why that is something that they always say, hey, try this, try mindfulness, because it works. Another that they call that somatic therapy. And these are just terms, right? Because you're going to hear people say, if you go to therapy, your therapist is going to use terms and you want to make sure that you know what they're talking about. So that is called somatic therapy. And that's just mind and body therapy. That's it. Okay, somatic is the mind and the body. Okay, so mindfulness is one of the treatments in somatic therapy. Okay, and when we're dealing with trauma, a lot of the therapy work looks like a lot of physical stuff. Like it's like EMDR is the eye and movement. So it's just they're just working with different parts of your body to help you work through trauma. It's not necessarily mental work, because how comfortable is it to retell a story over and over and over again, right? Because it's very triggering. So you do have moments where you tell the story, but a lot of it is dealing with how you can physically remove it from your body. So I just wanted to kind of bring in those common symptoms, and to just kind of piggyback off of what Jasmine was stating. Yeah, we experience acute trauma, which is the single one. You experience chronic trauma. So there's the people who have a trauma that's repeated, right? Those would be the neglect, that would be the sexual abuse, that would be the physical abuse, right? That would be the emotional abuse. That means that these people have experienced this, and they're always experiencing it over and over again, right? It doesn't stop. Their story, it's like, oh my gosh, again and again. You have complex trauma, which means that they've experienced multiple different traumatic events. Okay. You have developmental trauma, which is what we call childhood trauma. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You writing them down? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my
goodness. I'm sorry. So yeah. So you have complex trauma.
Complex
trauma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you experience multiple traumatic events. Okay. So someone who's experiencing abuse on a daily basis, but then they had a really bad car crash, right? That would be a complex trauma, okay? Because they're experiencing multiple traumas. Um, Developmental trauma is the childhood trauma, okay? Things that we experience in our early life, okay, that affects our emotional growth, which is big, and paying attention to that because children grow up to be the way that they are because of what they have experienced in their life. This is what we know. This is why we have to, when we talk about being developmental, that means that whatever you've learned, it travels with you as you grow, right? Unless you've done some work to be taught different, you just bring that along with you. And so it's important that we understand that if we put our children in situations where they experience these early life traumas and then we do nothing about it, you don't send them to therapy, you don't have conversation, it affects their emotional growth. That means that they don't know how to regulate their emotions. And so I saw Erica put in the chat, unhealed child. I can't heal if I don't know how to process my emotions, right? And so because it affects me and how I deal with emotions, I grow up to be the individual who's an adult who cannot handle my emotions. I don't do well in relationships with romance. I don't do friendships. I don't do well in my family ships. I don't do well in my work ships. I don't do well in life because everything you do irritates me, irks me, or I don't know how to communicate. It's not always a negative like aggressiveness, but I don't know how to communicate well. So I might be passive aggressive, or I might take certain I might let people hurt me because I don't know how to advocate for myself. So it could be both ways. And then you have vicarious trauma, which this is one that people don't know about because this is a trauma that helping people experience. So like healthcare workers, counselors, social workers, if you're dealing with people who have experienced trauma, then what you have or you end up with is an indirect trauma because you're hearing their stories or you're experiencing their stories and it affects you indirectly. So I'm afraid to as an example, let's say I work in the hospital in the ER. I'm afraid to get on a boat because I've seen so many people come into a hospital with boating accidents, right? That's an indirect trauma. So I've never experienced it, but I've seen the severity of it. I've seen how it affects people, and therefore it is traumatic to me. Therefore, I have a vicarious trauma. Okay. So you could have had an amazing life, grown up well, in what we consider a healthy family. But if you find yourself in a helping profession or you're helping others, you may experience indirect trauma, and that's what that is. So I just wanted to throw that out there because we want to know what we're experiencing. We don't just want to, it's trauma, because it's that word is thrown around so loosely nowadays. But you don't want to minimize it because, like I said, what some people experience in their trauma or as a trauma, I may not see it as that, but I cannot say it's not. Okay. So this is something to keep in mind.
That's it. That's powerful.
One quick question. Tonight is the night, y'all. If you're not in the room, sorry for you. Sorry for you. Sorry for you. So tonight we have a buy one, get one special.
Ooh.
Only for the remainder of this segment. And you can scan that barcode right now to get your ticket. Buy one, get one free for the Next Play workshop.
Yes.
Listen, that's a deal right there. Buy one, get one free. Come on. How could you not? You hear these ladies on tonight? Just imagine the other champions that's going to be in the room. So there you go. Floor is yours, ladies. Just had to put that out there.
All right.
Go get y'all tickets if you ain't got it.
Yes, please, please. Blessings, blessings. That's everything that you said, just kind of thinking back. As a mother, um, I can say I probably have experienced all of them. And that's interesting, because I've experienced complex, developmental, indirect, vicarious. So I probably have experienced all of them in my short period of life, but I've experienced a lot of them. And to be honest, um, before I became a mother, a lot of the stuff happened before I became a mother.
Gotcha.
And so coming into motherhood, you're not really understanding how that trauma affects you.
Yeah.
So some of the examples that you used, that was me. I've been through it. I experienced it.
Yeah.
And I can only be real with you tonight as a mother, as a growing mother, and becoming more wise on a lot of things. I literally had to go to therapy. I had to understand what was happening to me. Why was I a people pleaser?
Yeah.
Why did I overwork so much? Why did I have a fear of failure? Why did I have a fear of people getting too close?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did I feel like um, I may need to kind of step back a little bit, because if I get too close, somebody may hurt me like somebody hurt me before.
Yeah.
So why, it's just a lot of different things. And then also too, thinking about, I know I have a child. I was sheltered as a child. And so, you don't want to bring some of the things that you may have faced as a child with the child. So,
Yeah.
just kind of thinking about, okay, so I know I experienced some things. And then looking back at my own upbringing, I had to sit and think about, okay, what did my mother go through? Why did some of the things happen? Why did some of the things happen to me? What happened to her?
Yeah.
And still there are some questions that still remain unanswered.
Of course.
But of course, throughout time, revelations will come.
Yeah.
But with that, I had to understand that in order for me to be able to elevate to the next level, I have to heal.
Of course.
Because unfortunately, I will not take unhealed trauma into the next level. And then also, now that I have a child,
Yeah.
and my child is 7, and so she's growing, a lot of my experiences happened in my early childhood. And so now my daughter is 7 now. So there are moments when I find myself having deja vu moments,
Yeah.
or getting to a place where I'm overly stressing or overly vulnerable or overly like thinking like, okay, is this going to happen to her? Is this going to, like, and I can't do that
Yeah. And
because I
we
have
call
to
that trigger.
know.
We call
Yeah,
that
yeah, it's like it's triggering. It's
trigger.
very triggering.
Yeah.
Like I know, like at certain ages in her life, I know that I'm going to have to seek further help, because I know I'm going to feel the trigger
Yeah.
of, is this going to happen again?
Yeah.
So it's just being able to recognize, and for
Of course.
me, it didn't happen until I was in my late 20s when I realized that my trauma was affecting me. And so a lot of people may go longer than that,
Of course.
not really realizing that they have experienced so much trauma in their life. It is affecting their livelihood. It is their habits. It is different things that are going on in their life that they're not fully understanding because they didn't know how the trauma affected them.
Yeah. And the and I'm happy that you mentioned that, because here's the kicker. What we do as parents, right, is we end up, and you're not, they ain't gonna like it, but we end up messing our children up mentally, emotionally, just all together, not even
Right.
on this high level, but we end up messing them up because the one thing that we're trying not to do is repeat the past. Every parent, anybody who has had a kid is, I don't want to be like my mama. I'm gonna do it all different than my mama did it. I'm gonna do it totally different than my dad did it, or My mama used to scream, I'm not gonna scream. And I have nothing against gentle parenting. I'm a gentle parent. But we have to learn how to balance in our parenting. So here's my thing. And I just literally had this conversation. Erica came on it off. I saw your face, girl. I had this conversation with a client some weeks ago about parenting styles. And so, the generation now, we're all gentle parenting. We, just sit down, don't do that, or, we're not really getting on them. But the thing is that you have to have a balance in your parenting. And a lot of the times when we gentle parent, we see it as being soft. Like, we're just very soft. We let a lot of behaviors go through. All because the only reason why gentle parenting became a thing is because we as individuals did not want to repeat the past. We as individuals have gone to therapy. We figured out what's wrong with us. We've been able to point it to the fact that my mama used to scream at me. My daddy used to do this to me. They made me say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and no, sir, and yes, sir, and I shouldn't have had to. Like, all these different things. I went to therapy and I figured that out. And so I'm going to parent my baby gently, different, way different. And we end up leaving out the teaching portion of parenting. So all of that because of trauma, all of that because I want to, be hypervigilant, or I'm triggered, all because of that. You come out here and you're parenting your child in a way that's not preparing them for the world. And so the one thing that we're supposed to do as parents is we're supposed to allow our children to understand what will be expected when you get out there. How do you respond to the things that you experience in the world? So, everyone's not going to say nice things to you. Somebody's going to tell you to sit down and shut up. But how do you respond to that? As a parent, I teach my child how to respond to the sit down and shut up. You know what I mean? But if I've never, and that doesn't mean that I need to be walking around telling my child to sit down and shut up. But I also shouldn't look at people who do, not say sit down and shut up. Let me make that clear, because that's not how you need to speak to your child. But who does assertively say things to their child. I don't need to look at you like, oh, you're just messing that child up. Well, you might be messing the child up because let him tell you to sit down and shut up. Because that's usually what it is, right? They're telling you to sit down and shut up as a parent, right? All because, again, I have this fear of repeating the past. And so, as you are going into parenthood, before you think about having kids, okay? So we ain't even talking about the baby ain't even in the womb yet. Okay? Before you think about it, go to therapy. Before you bring life, go to therapy. It's the same thing. Before you get married, before you think about saying yes to somebody, before you think about getting into a committed relationship, go to therapy. Why? Because somebody is going to trigger you. If you have experienced any kind of trauma and you can identify that you've experienced trauma, then you are going to have so many interactions in this world that's going to trigger you. And although I have to be compassionate enough to understand that you have experienced the trauma, it does not justify how you treat me because of your trauma. And I don't have to tiptoe because you had a trauma. So as someone who has experienced trauma, it's important to do the work, because it does not give you an excuse to be a bad person or a mean person, or, someone who's cold and cold-hearted. It doesn't give you the reason to push people away and, tell them that it doesn't give you the reason to do that stuff. Those are defense mechanisms. That's because you chose to protect yourself, So as a parent, we have to keep this thing before we decide to go into the parenting space. Now, there's trauma that you experience as a mom after being a parent. You got childhood birthing trauma, Like if you had a horrible experience in the birthing process, in the hospital, it wasn't the safest environment for you, that's traumatic. And we experience, some people experience those things. I can recall recently kind of experiencing like a semi-trauma in that sense, where people just did not necessarily listen to me. And as African American women, we're not heard in moments when we are at our lowest, where we feel like we can't protect ourselves. That's traumatic, because that's scary. Who's gonna save me? You know what I'm saying? Right? So that's a trauma in itself. So when you're a parent, and you're a mom, and you're going through the birthing process, and you experience the trauma, or maybe you thought you were going to be able to deliver one way, and they have to rush you to C-section, that's traumatic. So that's a birth trauma. Right? Postpartum trauma. So we experience these things, even, as a parent, as a mom, okay? Generational trauma, as we spoke about, relationship trauma. So there's so many layers, because you're not just a mom, right? So you're a mom that's in a relationship, whatever trauma's going on in there, right? And you have to, as a person, learn, which is difficult. It's difficult. You have to learn how to separate, so that your child does not become affected. Okay. But the important thing to remember is that trauma does shape your parenting experience. It does shape your identity. It does shape your well-being, your emotional well-being. And that's why it's important to do the work, because we do know that the things that we experience in our lives dictate how we move in our lives. And if you don't want it to do that, then you have to learn how to not allow it to control you, right? So, you experienced something, okay, but you are not the victim. You don't want that to define you. And a lot of people who experience trauma allow it to define them, and they become the trauma. And it doesn't allow them to progress in life the way that they want to, in a healthy way. So, moms, it's difficult for us. It's difficult for everybody. But we just got some more added layers as a mother, that we experience, and it does affect our children tremendously, unfortunately. And that's why it's important to do the work, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through support groups, whether it's through talking to someone you trust. But do the work, whether it's you're doing your own research and learning on your own and finding books. And we in therapy, we call that psychoeducation. If you can go get you a book, and it's a book that's telling you how to deal with your traumas, there is no judgment here that you chose to read a book instead of maybe coming to talk to a therapist. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. At least you're trying to learn, and you want to know more. You recognize that there's a need to fix something, or to have a solution. So, whichever way you go, do something.
That's important. And so with that, I would definitely say, and I can speak on the millennial side of things. You may not know. You may not know that you've experienced the enormous amount of trauma. And so when this education or information you just provided, when you are able to get that, that is definitely when you're able to move forward with that work. And so one thing I can say is, people that I do know that are younger than me, I will converse with them. And, we'll talk about different things and say, hey, go ahead and get to therapy. Go ahead and sort out those problems before you get older. And it kind of like blooms out of nowhere. And you, like you said, you're not able to emotionally regulate. So that is highly important. And then a lot of us, and I'm going to use overworking, a lot of us work. So you don't have time to think about what happened. You don't. Or like I say, parenting. You're parenting.
That's
You
on
don't
purpose.
have time to think
Yeah.
about, oh God, this hurt. Oh
Yeah.
God, this happened when I was a child. Oh God,
Mhm.
I had this happen as I was delivering my. Oh God, it's so much. Yes,
Can you please put that beautiful face and your
Gotta
face? You,
I'm
every,
sorry.
I can just move over just a tad bit, and if you want to
Okay.
rock, you can rock, but just come over. No, the
Yeah,
other way.
I'm.
the other side to
The
the
other way.
Yeah,
I just
thank
want
you.
to see the
This
beautiful
is like
face.
right in the middle of my face at this
Yeah,
point,
so
that's
but it's
right.
fine.
Go
come
over a
to
little bit.
your
This which way? This way?
no
No,
the
the
other
other
way.
way.
The other way?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you
Uh,
go. Yeah.
Better.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, it's just a lot that a lot of people, have faced and dealt
Mhm.
with. And so I feel like that information is very helpful for the world, to be honest,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't realize that they are dealing with unhealed trauma. Like people
Yeah.
are walking around, like you say, just doing whatever.
Yeah. It's
Um,
normalized.
and yeah, they don't really know. So
Yeah.
helpful information
Yeah.
like that, because after a while, I can say is that it's going to come a time in your life that you have to heal. There's going to be, for me, I can tell you that it was like snowball after snowball after snowball
Mhm.
that kept happening. And so it was almost like I was praying about things, and it was just like God revealed, it's time to heal, Jasmine.
Yeah.
It's time to heal. And so healing is not pretty. Healing is not something that happens overnight. God, no. God, no. It could be years and years and years of healing. You're still healing.
Yes.
Like, and there's no rush. And so when people say, well, you need to hurry up and heal, that's very insensitive.
Yes.
So, no, take your time. It's
Yeah.
a process.
Yes, it is.
It's a process that we have to experience and go through, and allow God to be the lead of that process.
Yes.
And God plus therapy equals healing. And
It
that's
does.
fine.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Because what I can say is, and I can speak on my parents' generation, that was is a huge no-no, and the generation before that is a huge no-no. That's not something that is discussed or even want to bring into the
Yeah.
conversation about your mental health.
Yeah.
It was such a stigma around it.
Mhm.
And so I feel like as we got older and more wiser, we then realize, hey, it's just continuously going through generation through generation through
Yeah.
generation. So when is it going to, like, when are we going to get a hold of it? And
Mhm.
so I really applaud, that everybody that is working on themselves, that have taken that initiative to say, I need to heal. I want to be better for not only my future self, for my future kids, for my current kids, for my future relationships, workships, any type of ships, as you mentioned, Ebony. I want to be better, and so it takes you really self-reflecting, being self-aware,
Yeah.
sometimes having a lot of snowballs after snowballs and snowballs falling, for you to really understand, like, I've got to be better.
Yeah.
I've got to, continue to, like I say, not be the victim, but be the victor,
Yes.
because we are victorious
Yeah.
and we're going to come out of this. And so it just takes, us, like you say, doing the work and being able to move into that. And so I know, and that kind of brings me into my next point is for mothers and also for athletes too.
Yeah.
But a lot of them go through the survival mode.
Yes.
They're just trying to make it,
Yeah.
just trying to make it. And so
Mhm.
with that, you're just consistently just doing things over and over and over that,
Yeah.
may not be what you need to do.
Exactly.
And so with that, it gets to a point where it's like, you know what? I would like to do better. I would like to progress in life. I want to elevate. And so that means, one, I have to heal, I have to change my ways. I have to get around a new group. Whatever it takes for you to get to a better place in life where you're able to move towards a more thriving
Mhm.
season.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pause because I'm going to allow you to kind of chime in on the survival and thrival and thriving analogy.
So I am assuming you're speaking about fight or flight.
You can,
Um,
yes, you can
okay,
say
okay.
that.
So fight or flight is a response that we have as individuals, period, not just as an athlete. It does affect, right? It would affect the athlete, of course. But it is our response to stress
Mhm.
or, or to a traumatic experience, right? And so basically you either fight or you flight, right? You know to either run or stay still. And so in that stress, the stress causes you to do that. Um, and so if you haven't worked through it, then you don't you don't process the fight or flight. It just you kind of just you're not necessarily dealing with the stressor in itself. Okay. And so it can affect you. And when we talk about athletes, you know what I mean? It's that means that you're more susceptible to injury.
Mhm.
Okay. Because trauma causes slow recovery. It can slow down your recovery. And of course increase that risk. Okay. Because that goes back to the body and where we hold stress, right? So and the stress we hold that in our body, so the trauma sits in there and it lives in the body and it affects performance, it affects rest, it affects your body relationship. Okay, so this athlete is going out there on this field or on the track or on the court or wherever they do their thing, and they are not mentally capable of processing what is occurring in front of them because at any moment something can trigger the response, be it interaction on the and you see this often. I see it a lot. I don't know if I see it as much on the football field, but I know I see it on the basketball court. Like, you know what I'm saying? When there's these fights happening on the court or whatever, right? I don't know. Maybe because the men on the football field are always hitting each other anyway. I don't never pay attention to it being a fight, but I'm sure that they fighting. I don't know. I'm sorry, Erica. I'll be paying attention like
You must be watch football.
I'm paying attention like that. But we call it ego.
Yeah.
That's what we call it when we're watching. Like, oh, he just got a big ego, or that man. But that stuff's triggering. It's triggering because how you stepped to me reminded me how somebody else might have stepped to me, and what you not gonna do
That's right.
is that. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to challenge me because I'm not that little boy no more.
Mhm.
You get where I'm going with that? Like, and a lot of the times and so we find that is the response. My response is just to fight.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go at it because this is how I'm gonna release that. This is that. And so it can affect you in more ways than one simply because I've been triggered.
Yeah.
Now if I work through my trauma, then I'm able to not let it affect business
Mhm.
and
Okay.
performance.
What happens if you don't know? Like a lot, we talk about athletes now, my kind of guys, but we're talking about, you just named a couple that I didn't even never hear of. So if these athletes are not able to identify where they find themselves at, how can they heal when they don't know what they're hurting from? One, and then two, this two-part question. Two, what happens? Because I think it's the DB. Come on, Mr. First of all, the
Is he
DB that gets inside the receiver's ear. They talk cold cash smash. Like
Mhm.
I literally just saw a video the other day, and this player was like, "Man, I don't even like going up against him because he talks some cold cash." And it's to
Mhm.
get in your head, to
Yes,
get you off of your game. You see
yes.
what I'm saying? So if that player don't know what type of, or even if he dealing with trauma, because how do you heal from that?
So here's the thing. In most cases, maybe I'm not even dealing with the trauma, but if you in my ear enough, it's gonna trigger me. You get what I'm saying? So some of that is not a trauma response. Some of that is some of it is ego, some of it is pride, right? Like we I don't want to take it away from that because some of it is that. But
Yeah.
if there's a person who is experiencing it and who they don't recognize that that's trauma for them, you won't. recognize it unless you've done the work, right?
Yeah.
But realistically, if we're talking about a trauma, I'm able to say I've experienced something in my life that's affected me. I might not call it trauma. I might not use the word. You get what I'm saying? But I'll know that I don't like people all up in my face because my daddy used to be all up in my face. You get me? I might not call it trauma,
Yeah.
like how we're calling it. And I might not be able to say it's acute or it's chronic, but I know that one of my parents did something to me that as a parent they weren't supposed to do. And that was bad because I was a kid. And that was like I can compute that stuff in my mind. Right. And so because I can tell myself that these are experiences I've had, it's up to me to go get the help. Now, what Jasmine mentioned about the stigma doesn't stop at being an African American or being in an age range, but it's gender related too, because women are more likely to get help through therapy than men are, and men ultimately don't go to therapy unless they're prompted to, you know. So so when I mean by prompted, let's say my marriage isn't working. Well, we're not gonna keep going with this unless you go to therapy, right? Like there's this prompt, right? Or you're about to lose your child. There's a prompt for you to go. Now you might have gone for a specific reason, but see, in therapy, you don't just get to sit and talk about what somebody sent you here for. Because in order for me to understand why you here, I gotta go deep down in the back. So you're gonna get some work. Something's gonna be talked about that you weren't prepared to talk about in the first place. And then men, then it's their choice to stay or go or whatever. But that's how the work occurs. Now I don't want to take it from men because there are some men who will go on their own because they see the need to go, right? But there is a gender stigma.
Yeah.
So those athletes are gonna the balls gotta fall, like she said. It's gonna be a couple of things that have happened that's gonna kind of force them to go.
Yeah. Like you talk about the not seeing the fights. The fights are definitely there. But here's the thing too. What happens if that me and you players, and I don't know that you've been traumatized, but I'm that DB and I'm all up in your business, I'm talking that cold cash smash, and then here it is, boy, that kind of gets you off your game, but not just get you off your game. It could cause, I don't stop playing. They've been throwing punches. I'm like, who you gonna hit? You hit the man in the helmet. You're gonna end up hurting yourself. You know what I'm saying? But hey, it happens, in a split second. So when people go and talk about these athletes, like they're not human. They're human.
Yes, they are.
They're human. So they're gonna talk about these athletes not supposed to have they hold them at a higher standard, put it like that. But you don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what the next person has dealt with, even in our own circle, if we're not talking about it, right? So we're on the outside looking in and we're trying to call these people out. And then, if that wasn't me, if that was me, I wouldn't have did that. You're right, because it's not you. So you wouldn't have did it. So, you have to take that in consideration too. But to see that these things are happening on that field, and I'm sure on probably in any type of sport, you got somebody that's talking that smashed to you, and then you have that trauma. You have there you go. You have that unhealed child in that player or adult or that mom or dad. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is they decide to fight instead of flight. They decide to confront it instead of escaping away from it. You know what I mean? And so whatever it is bigger. Like I need to let it know that it cannot take over me. And so that DB that's in his ear, I'm not looking at you as the DB in my ear. I'm looking at you as the person who's always harmed me. So think about PTSD.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have, and more so with people who are in the military, when they go to war and they have this experience and they come back from war and they're here just living their lives, right? there are definitely different interactions with people. It could be something as simple as, hey, put that back, that triggers, something that looked like war. And so naturally, they're not gonna, they're gonna attack
Mm.
because they feel that they're in danger. When we think about fight or flight, it's not a negative thing. It is what actually saves us in events. You understand what I'm saying? If you're somewhere and something is happening, in that moment you experiencing a fight or a flight. You either gonna stay there to see how it ends, or you gonna leave. That so that's necessary to keep us safe.
Yeah. Mr. First of all said, yeah, it gets aggressive on the field. The cameras just don't show it at all. LOL.
Yeah.
Yes, they talk trash. It's part of the game too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it's part of the game. But if you have that person that's on that other side that
Mhm.
haven't been healed, it's gonna be some problems
Yeah.
up in there. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a question for you, Jess, because you talked about being healed in your late 20s. And sometimes it takes longer than that, right? And yes, and what end up happening, even though you're a mom now, you're a mother now, God has loaned you one of his precious gems. You know, of course, what you're gonna do, you're gonna try to protect it
Mhm.
at all costs. But like Eb said, not even knowing sometimes it causes not really damage to the child, but when you be overbearing, and I could speak on it because my kids told me. And
Yeah.
I thought that as a parent, as a mother, that I was doing the right thing about harboring over
Yeah.
them.
Being a hover. Hmm.
Right. However, I have boys. So they want to get out and Mom, you have to let us fail. Who wants to see their child fall?
Yes.
No, nobody. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Understood at the time what they said. But I'm gonna tell you this. My mom used to tell me, girl, I can't wait till you have children. So it's like a generational curse. It's
Yeah.
going in cycles. I wasn't, yes, I was. I ain't gonna even lie. Yes, I was. It wasn't that I would, yes, I was. I
Mhm.
was horrible. And when I say horrible, not to the fact where I gave my mom like what she's doing. I just was a fighter. That's all that was. And that stemmed from what? The trauma. You see? So, like the DBs, if you getting in my ear, you don't even have to get in my ear. You look at me
Don't
wrong,
take long.
and you ain't cracking no smile, and I think that what they used to call it, ECU or whatever they call
Yeah.
it, I don't even give you a chance.
Hmm.
It's about to go down. And I'm bleeding on people that didn't cut me. So, Jess, what would you say that you can offer a mother um if she saw her child going through a little something, what words of encouragement could you offer her to kind of tell her to see, if she's not, if you were coaching her, pretty much, if you was coaching her, how could you help her if she's showing signs of doing what happened to her child? That's what I was trying to say.
Hmm.
Thank you, Holy Spirit.
So with that, I would have to say, that's definitely a tough one. And you kind of have to be gentle and sensitive when you're getting into that, because some people may not realize that they're doing anything. And so you have to know how to approach the conversation.
Yeah.
um, with that. You can say, hey, I have noticed that, just say for instance, we were talking about the being overbearing
Yeah.
or doing a little too much. Hey, I've noticed that you are doing that. You're doing more than what you should be doing, basically. And
Mhm.
so thinking about it, we'll talk about, hey, so how was your upbringing as a child? Like, what were some things that you noticed that your parents did? And
Mhm.
so we'll kind of like connect the like your current to what happened to you before,
Yeah.
for them to see the bigger picture of what they may be doing. Because I try not to ever accuse anybody of things, but
Uh-huh.
I always like to kind of provide examples or kind of bring them into that space, for them to realize, because they be like, oh my God, Jazz, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Then they come to their own realization. And so that's basically like that's hopeful to them,
Yeah.
because then moving forward, you know, they will be able to make changes and not be so overbearing. And it's so interesting because I know a lot of people may have seen Moesha, but they were doing some old episodes, and on there Dorian was dating an older woman, right? And so his parents did not approve of that. But with that, his dad wanted to go at him and say, don't date the other one, don't date the older woman, you need to let her, you need to break up with her, you need to do this. And then another person came to him and said, you have to let him make his own mistakes. You have to, you know, be able to kind of still be there for support, but you have to allow them to learn the lessons, so then maybe you can come back and give them guidance on things. Now, I know that's probably not something that a lot of people want to do, but sometimes it is necessary, because you might can tell your child, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Okay, they're gonna do it. Most likely they're gonna do it. So, you know, it's just the coming back to say, hey, well, this is what happened when you did this, but let's kind of talk about it. And so just kind of thinking about, sometimes we have to maybe walk people through situations instead of like just kind of going head in sometimes. And I'm open to what everyone has to say, but just what I would say.
Oh, that's true. You know, because sometimes, you know, we go through it, and that's why I love the title that God, it had to happen, because I think that we go through it so we can help somebody else.
Of
It's
course.
happening for somebody, you know. So I you could be able to identify certain things, not that you look down on them or anything, but you just kind of say, okay, maybe you could use yourself as an example. I don't know, you know, but what you said was amazing, you know, because at the end of the day, you want to go in easy because you don't know where this person is at, especially nowadays, you know. So yeah, definitely that was a great tactic that you just talked about. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Give,
you.
give people a voice. Everyone needs an opportunity to tell their story, and most people who experience traumas don't have that opportunity. You know, it happened, they're silenced, they're told to say nothing, or they feel like they can't say anything, you know. And so if I can't tell my story, at some point I just don't accept that that was a part of my story. And then I'm not able to make, like Jasmine said, the connections, right? Because, you know, again, like I said, it's not that oftentimes we don't know. Again, it's just that I've been told to ignore or forget and keep it moving.
yeah,
Right? Act like it didn't happen. Come on, you got other stuff you have to do. You got to focus on. Now, I could have been told that, or I could have told myself that. And those are, because that happens too, right? Because sometimes we tell ourselves so that we can, quote unquote, keep it pushing or be strong, you know? And so, and I tell people all the time, listen, being strong is being weak.
yeah,
That's not the goal. The strength comes from allowing yourself to experience emotions and experience the things that you're going through, not to put it on the shelf.
that's right.
Weak people, they put things on the shelf. They avoid,
Yeah,
right? And avoidance is a negative thing. It's not a positive thing. So, you know, but we have this strong woman, strong, you know, man mindset, and that's in our culture is major, and I already know where it stems from, because you know this is generations and generations, and we talking about slave days, right? Where we have been taught to be strong, because that was what's going to get us through. At least that's what we thought, right? We didn't have time to cry because Master was coming for us. So you can cry when you get to your next location, but right now you need to get there. And so we really have that mindset now. Like you can deal with it when you achieve, finish the goal, right, and then achieve. But by the time you finished it and you burnt yourself tirelessly and you've harmed and hurt all the people along the way, at that point it's a little too late, because you looking and you seeing all the people laid out on the floor who you've hurt and injured in the process, you know. So giving them a voice and allowing them to tell their story and to speak oftentimes it'll click for themselves.
Mhm.
You ain't gotta say nothing. You know what I mean? When you're talking, you just like, oh, and what does that sound like? Girl, that's the child. That sound like me. I do that like my mama do. It clicks, and it's like, dang, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
How can I fix that? So sometimes it's just letting them tell their story, giving them a voice. It's important.
That's it. And I wanted to say one final thing as we do wrap up. Some helpful tips and
Yeah.
tools for you if you have found yourself in an unhealed season, and you want to know how you can begin your healing journey. And that's huge. And that's for mothers, athletes, for all individuals. These tips are helpful. One, it's okay. It's okay. It happened. It happened, but it will not break you. You will continue to prosper. You will continue to elevate, and you will continue to do just what God wanted you to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing I can say is something that was helpful and that was given to me as advice, but to write a letter to your inner child.
Mhm.
Write a letter to them,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you were young. You you were young, and then even if you were an adult at that time, you went through that situation. But it's okay. Go ahead and write it down. Write down what you felt. Write down what you experienced. Write down that I'm so proud of you. You made it through this journey. This was tough, but you made it through. Look at you now. And I'm going to use, for example, I saw Coco Jones actually put up a video, and she did a video on her FaceTime. She put up a younger video of herself, just basically saying where she wanted to be, where she wanted to be, what she wanted to achieve. And so even if you don't want to journal, you can make video journals.
Yeah.
Just talking to yourself, encouraging yourself, being vulnerable about what happened, acknowledging everything. What happened, who hurt you, what they did, what happened here, whatever it may be, talk about it. Sometimes yourself, you can provide the best conversation for you. So, you
I
know,
was trying to say, don't talk back. If you're talking to yourself, don't talk back. I had to make a joke.
listen, your self
They
talk
say
back.
that's
Listen,
crazy,
that's a
but I
whole
don't
other
know.
thing. But also, but also too, affirming yourself.
Yeah.
Affirming yourself. I ams are powerful. I am great. I am wonderful. I am not what I've been through. I will continue to strive and be the best that I can be in this life. I am going to make it. And so thinking about it and saying no without guilt. Sometimes no is a complete sentence. You don't have to add nothing else to it. It's a no. People can take it how they feel. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to choose self first sometimes.
Yeah.
In a lot of situations, we find ourselves, being selfless, but sometimes you have to take that moment for self. And so saying no without being guilty, take that time for you. And finally, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace
Yeah.
in parenting, in individual life, in motherhood, fatherhood, any person tonight. Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
That's it. Pat yourself. Sometimes pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a hug. Say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, Jazz. I'm proud of you, Ebony. I'm proud of you, Wendell. I'm proud of you, Dr. Erica, Ashley, everyone that's here tonight. I'm proud of you. You made it. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
And so we have to continue to remember that.
Yeah.
And so I am overly appreciative to be here on the platform. And I appreciate you, Ebony, for coming up, showing up, and showing out. And thank you. And
Thank you all.
Before we go, I do have a question. I love to add the coach in, Mr. First of all, because he has to deal with these players. As Jasmine dropped her tips, I just want to add in this one little thing, if you ladies don't mind, because as a coach, he have to deal with these players. So as a coach, when you see these kids, because I'm sure that you can identify some of the things in them, how do you approach them? And what could you offer a parent if you noticed something? How would you approach that parent if you saw something that was detrimental that needed to be addressed right away? Because I know sometimes you want to have a safe space. But if you find out something about a kid that you think can be detrimental, how do you approach the parent? Secondly, and then first, if you saw it in the kid, how do you approach him? Can hear you. You don't have no sound,
I
Mister. First of all,
can hear you, but it's real low. I don't know if you connected to your car or if it's just your phone. Yeah.
well, we'll save that question for next time. I just really want to
Oh,
hear
your
that.
response in the chat. I know you was making comments in the chat, so put your response in the chat. While he's doing
Just
that, I think he's trying to put it in the chat. He's typing it in the chat. I
okay.
just wanted to piggyback off of some things that Jasmine said to just be mindful of. I know she was speaking in regards to, tips, right? Tips for if if you find yourself in those spaces, but be willing to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
You know, people who experience trauma tend to blame themselves, feel like they had a part in something, or even just blame the fact that they didn't say something quick enough, or whatever the case may be, or even later how you may notice that you have had an effect on other people, not in the best way because of your traumas.
Mhm.
Forgive yourself, and forgive others, and that's a hard thing to do because you didn't ask for the harm, but let me tell you something about forgiveness. It's a powerful thing, and it will allow you to be as free as you need to be. And it is the door that you open up that takes you to healing.
Mm,
You can't heal if you don't forgive, and that's just the reality of it. You cannot skip that part. Okay, so really, working on that space, and it's a hard space. That's why you work on it, and you continue to do the work. It's not something you can't just say I forgive you and forgive. It don't work like that. I wish it was that easy, but it's a process. So be willing to forgive others and forgive yourself, and also be patient.
mm,
Be patient with you. Be patient with the fact that you still feel the same way you felt yesterday and you went to therapy,
yeah.
because it's not going to go away right away. Be patient with the fact that you read the book and nothing changed. Be patient with the fact that you told your story and you still feel heavy. Be patient with the process. Be patient with yourself.
Mm,
Have reasonable expectations. Don't expect that no tears are not going to fall.
right.
That's not a reasonable expectation. Don't expect that you won't feel an emotion. That's not a reasonable expectation. Be real with yourself and patient enough to allow yourself to experience what comes with this. Don't rush.
Right.
Do not rush trauma work. And don't allow people to rush you into the work of trauma, because you have to be ready, because it's like opening up a scab.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, just be mindful of those things, and like Jasmine said, give yourself grace.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how do you know you fully forgiven someone, right, or some people? If something you were traumatized, it happened to you, you had no control. Somebody end up being hurt behind it. Somebody end up going to prison behind it. But the family is in the person ear that went to prison behind it, telling him that it really didn't happen.
Hmm.
How do you as an individual know? Like you can forgive them, but if you don't really like deal with them or go around them, does that mean that you're not healed?
Yeah, that means you're not healed.
And then, okay, if you do go around them, but distant,
You could be healed and do that. You don't know, no, you're not forced to have relationship with people who harmed you. By all means, you don't have to have a relationship. You should be able to be in the presence of them and it not affect you. That is a true sign of healing and forgiveness. When I can come, I don't have to say hello. I don't have to say hello. If you said hello to me, I could say hello, but I don't have to have a whole conversation. I don't have to sit next to you, right? Those are not things that have to be done. but I should be able to find myself in the presence, or I should be able to be in the presence of a conversation about you and I not be moved. I don't have the feelings of anger or whatever emotion that may have come up prior, right, to my work of healing. So, that is a telltale sign. I like to say, you're not going to ever forget. The goal is not to forget. The only person who has the ability to forget is God. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that can forgive and forget. We forgive, but we do not forget, and we don't forget for a reason, because it allows us to be cautious in our life experiences, right? If we forgot, then we would find ourselves experiencing the same thing over and over again, because we wouldn't know not to do that, or we wouldn't know how to be cautious again, like not be in that space or whatever the case may be. So we don't forget, but we should be able to be in the space of a person who has hurt us, whether it's physically, emotionally, or even spiritually, and not be angry or upset, or we don't feel the emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I would say that would be a telltale sign.
You ladies knocked it out the park on tonight. Let me tell you, I got away with not, my eyelashes still here, y'all. So,
So we did good. You didn't cry. I think you
Ooh,
just wanted to
okay.
get that.
I will ask the parent, how often do you have a conversation with your child on just something as simple as, how was your day? That usually leads to the conversation of them opening up. I would then let them know, hey, I've noticed a certain behavior within your child that I haven't seen before. Explain what I saw and tell them to have that conversation, but ease into it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That is good. And that was from Mr. First of all, our sports director, champion. And you heard from the heavyweight champions on tonight, y'all. Miss Jasmine White and Ebony, Miss First of all. We're going to have to get us a name, Jasmine. We're going to have to get us a name, man.
I don't know if I agree
Oh,
to
man, listen, y'all see I'm rocking my Dolphins, though. Let me break it down. Oh. 2 times in a row, y'all. I thought was gonna do something this year. I'm telling you. Oh, Mr. First of all, I gave you a name, Jazzy Jazz. So Miss
I get that all the time.
Jazzy
I get
Jazz,
that all
right.
the time.
That's all right. That's all right. But listen, we really want you guys to get inside the Next Play networking event. So we have something really special to play really quick. Hey guys, hey, listen, you definitely want to be in the building. September 6th, starting at 5 p.m. NFL Moms is presenting the Next Play networking mixer. You definitely don't want to miss it. So tell a mom to tell a mom to tell plenty of moms and athletes, entrepreneurs, business leaders, any of you, come on out, put on all your black and come out with us. This is an all black event starting at 5 p.m. Man, our panel is gonna be fire. So trust me, you want to get inside the Next Play. Guys, and the tickets are what? Only $50. How can you purchase a ticket? You by going over to our website at www.mothersofunmotivatedsons.org and purchase your tickets there. However, do follow us on social media, Mothers of Motivated Sons on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see you there at the Next Play. Telling y'all don't want to miss. Y'all don't want to miss. Listen, get inside that Next Play. I'm telling you, you want to be in. And we're going to even do something even special. We're going to run that special the entire night until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Buy one, get one free. We want you guys to be in the building. And listen, trust me. Trust me. I should have said how they said it in 305. Not fire. I was proper because Jasmine was recording, but it's going to be fire. That's how 305 language.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm telling you, you want to be in the building. So again, tell a mom to tell a mom to tell another mom to tell their auntie, brother, sister, cousin, friend to get in the building to see these heavyweight champions. I'm telling you, for a night of, I'm talking about networking, you will have access to them all night long. Any questions that you may have, you can ask, but you have to be inside the next play. And if you cannot make it to the event, you and have a business, you definitely can reach out to us at info@mothersofmotivatedsons.org. We have something very special where you can put some of your things inside of our bags for a small fee, or be a vendor if you're in the area. Come out and be a vendor. Vendor spots is $75. It is one ticket. You have one table. You have a one chair. You have food and drink. Come on. Come on and showcase your business. You want to do it. So y'all come on, let's send them out with some virtual hugs and some virtual love. So the next video we'll be seeing is who?
Mr. First of All.
You know it.
All right. And who do we have that's going to knock it out the park next on Monday?
Mr. First of All.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How can hear you now?
I don't know.
I think because I switched it off my car into just the phone. The phone, yeah.
I'm not telling him to do that.
That's what he said. Ooh, so I need to put you in. I'm gonna send you his number tonight as soon as we get off. Oh, y'all want to be in the building? I'm telling you, get inside these huddles, y'all. Inside Mom's Locker Room of Legacy. These workshops, listen, phenomenal. I'm telling you, phenomenal. I don't know what Coach gonna bring, but he gonna bring it, Mister. First of all, get in the building on Monday. 7:30. You guys do not want to miss. God bless each and every one of you. Y'all, I love y'all so much. I cannot wait till we all be able to fellowship together and everybody get to meet each other in person and do what we do. God has truly, truly blessed us all with his amazing gift to serve the people. So listen, we don't want y'all to just get the money. We want to show y'all how to keep the money, how to keep the mind and protect the mind, how to become that entrepreneur, how to become that coachable athlete, and much more. Until next time, God bless you all. Bye-bye.